So what if the history you've always been taught isn't just missing a few pages? What if it was deliberately written to hide something? Today, we're diving into a document that makes that exact claim. It presents what it calls a scientific indictment against one of the most powerful intelligence agencies on the planet. This is a journey into a very different version of history, and we're starting right now.
The entire basis for this explainer is a single document called the Scientific Indictment. And its core idea is, well, it's pretty chilling. It basically argues that our reality has been actively managed, that a kind of modern Ministry of Truth has been working behind the scenes, not to find out what's true, but to decide what becomes true.
Okay, so a really important heads up before we go any further. Our job here is not to prove or disprove any of the wild claims in this document. We're not here to validate or debunk. Think of us as your guide. We're just going to neutrally lay out the specific allegations it makes to clearly present the case that's being put forward.
All right, let's get into the document's first major charge. It alleges that the first front in this hidden war wasn't fought with guns or bombs, but with something way more subtle: headlines, news reports, and broadcasts. It was, according to the source, a full-on war for your mind.
The source gives this alleged program a name: Operation Mockingbird. And according to this indictment, we're not talking about a small-time propaganda effort. The claim is that this was a huge, secret operation designed to turn the American press into a willing partner for the intelligence community.
And this is where the imagery gets really powerful. The document claims that a key figure, CIA Director Frank Wisner, actually bragged about his network of journalists and media contacts. He called it his mighty Wurlitzer. Just picture that: a massive pipe organ where one person could sit down, play any propaganda tune they wanted, and have it echo through the most trusted newsrooms in the world.
And the source is specific here. It points to a 1977 exposé by Carl Bernstein. Yep, the same guy from Watergate. And the list of names he allegedly uncovered is stunning. We're not talking about fringe outlets. These are the giants, the very institutions people relied on to get the straight story.
So, if you're running this kind of operation, how do you handle people who start asking inconvenient questions? Well, the indictment points to this document, CIA Dispatch, hashtag 1035-960, as the smoking gun. The allegation is that the CIA intentionally took the phrase conspiracy theory and turned it into a weapon, a way to instantly dismiss and ridicule anyone who dared to question the official narrative.
If you can influence what people think, well, why not try to control how they think, or even if they can think for themselves at all? The indictment claims the CIA went there, opening up a second, much scarier front: a direct war on human consciousness itself.
I mean, this question, it's straight out of a spy movie, right? But it's pulled from a declassified CIA memo, and it gets to the very core of this part of the indictment. The source claims that programs like Project Artichoke weren't about simple interrogation. No, the alleged goal was to see if you could actually program a human being to be an assassin, completely unaware of their actions, a real-life Manchurian candidate.
The source document lays this out as a clear progression, a sinister evolution. It claims these weren't just scattered experiments. This was a dedicated, decades-long push to master mind control, getting more and more sophisticated over time and leading to the infamous Project MKUltra, an operation that allegedly aimed for nothing less than total control over a person's mind.
And the document details the horrific methods it claims were used. It zeroes in on the work of a Dr. Ewan Cameron, supposedly funded by MKUltra. The alleged method was a brutal two-step process. First, depatterning, basically using extreme measures to wipe a person's mind clean. And then, psychic driving, trying to install a new personality by bombarding their subconscious with looped messages over and over again.
Okay, so an obvious question pops up here. How on earth do you pay for all of this? For these massive, illegal, off-the-books operations? The document's next charge tackles that head-on, claiming the CIA had to create its own black budget, funded through criminal activity.
The indictment holds up Air America as a case study. Publicly, it was just an airline, flying humanitarian aid and personnel around Southeast Asia. But the source alleges a secret, darker mission, that those same planes were used to transport raw opium, essentially helping to fund a secret war in Laos and, in the process, pouring fuel on the global heroin trade.
And the story doesn't stop in the 70s. The document jumps forward to the 1980s, pointing to the controversial Dark Alliance news series. The claim here is truly devastating, that a CIA-backed effort to fund a war in Nicaragua had a direct and catastrophic blowback right here at home, helping to spark the crack cocaine epidemic that destroyed so many American communities.
To back this up, the source highlights one little entry from the personal notebooks of Oliver North, a central figure in the Iran-Contra affair. The note is short, but what it says is just explosive. 14M, $14 million, for financing arms came from drugs. The document presents this as a blunt admission, straight from the horse's mouth.
So far, the indictment has laid out a case for media manipulation, mind control, and even drug trafficking. But it saves its biggest, most world-shaking allegation for last: that the CIA was involved in a coup against a sitting American president.
Now why? Why would powerful people in the government turn on their own president? The document argues that John F. Kennedy essentially became a heretic. He fired the head of the CIA, he wanted to pull out of Vietnam, he even took on the Federal Reserve. According to this indictment, JFK crossed lines he wasn't supposed to cross.
And according to the source, this wasn't the work of one rogue group. It was a coalition of the powerful. A perfect storm of different factions, all with a reason to want Kennedy gone. A vengeful CIA, an angry military leadership, the mob, and even international bankers.
For the author of this indictment, the ultimate proof, the final cynical punchline to the whole affair, wasn't a piece of evidence found in Dallas. It was what happened after. The fact that Allen Dulles, the very CIA director that Kennedy had fired, was put on the commission to investigate his murder. That, the source argues, says it all.
So let's just take a breath. As we've gone through, the claims in this scientific indictment are huge. They're deeply unsettling. They paint a picture of a hidden war fought not just against other countries, but against the very ideas of truth, free will, and the rule of law itself.
Which leaves us with a final, lingering question. Now, the document we've explored is just one source, one interpretation, but it throws down a fundamental challenge to the history we think we know. It forces us to ask, what happens when the official story has holes? What if the real story is much darker and way more complicated than we ever thought possible? The verdict, well, that's up to you.